Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm American Lauren.
And this week, we're talking about the
Goonies. Hey, you guys.
Hey, you. Put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
And we are back with Lauren all the way in America, our two countries colliding once again, bashing together, the kangaroo and the proud American eagle. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like we really needed to make peace with the Americans after all those horrible things that feral little Courtney said last week about America. Incorrigible, that one. Too much television. That's my theory. But I know all is good. I'm extending the olive branch.
Yes. Sorry, I'm asleep.
Yeah, so of course, in order to do this, not only are we on Skype, which gives us an incredible delay, but it's early morning for you. You're on your first coffee. Yep. And it's late for me, and I'm kind of crashing from having too many coffees throughout the day.
Yay.
But that's all right. We've picked something pretty wonderful. We've got the Goonies, which is one of those big sort of milestone films for anybody who was a child in the 80s has got to have an appreciation for Goonies, right?
Totally. We had this on tape and would watch it over and over and over. And I just rewatched it, and I remember all the lines and even the inflection of the actors' voices.
It holds up, right? Like, those characters are amazing, and their banter. There's something about those 80s films with kids in them where they act like real kids. They say, like, un-PC stuff and have, all these wild behaviors that I feel gets kind of sanitized out of a lot of kids' films these days.
Yeah, maybe that started with Dawson's Creek or something. I don't know. Now they're all like little adults.
But this book as well, not only is the film great, but the book is written by James Caan, who's one of my favorite authors that we've had on The Book Was Better. He also wrote Temple of Doom. I don't know if you've heard that one, but that's where he gives Short Round the crazy backstory where he believes that his brother might be reincarnated as the elephant that they're riding.
Oh, yeah. And Short Round is in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. And in that book, Short Round has this whole origin scene before he meets up with Indiana Jones where he runs around all these, like, opium dens and he does all this crazy stuff.
Huh.
And, yeah. And he also wrote Poltergeist, which was on a show not that long ago with Courtney, which also was a really great book, something I really enjoyed. So, great additions, both of them, to the BWB pantheon. So, I'm expecting great things from James Caan.
Caan! Sorry.
Yes, not to be confused with James Caan, the actor, either.
Yes, spelled differently.
That's very true. That's why you would be a fool to confuse them. So don't do it, people, if you're listening. So shall we get right into this Goonies? Because there's lots to talk about. And this is one of those things. The advantage of a book, which I think is reasonably written well, is we're not here so much to like make jokes about it. I haven't written a lot of jokes or trying to make fun of it and rip it to pieces. A lot of this I've put just because I enjoyed it. Like I was like, this is an interesting passage. This is one of my favorite parts of the film. And I just thought, we could reminisce on that, talk about it, and just enjoy it. Just be a pair of Goonies.
Sounds good to me. Why hate everything all the time, right?
That's right. So we're going to bring a little bit of positivity. It's like a hot dog sliding comfortably into a bun, right?
Oh, now, Luke, come on.
That's an American thing. Like, it's a food thing. Come on.
Sure.
Like a patty in a hamburger?
With melted cheese.
Cream being injected into a Twinkie? Is that what they do? I don't know.
I don't know. I just eat them. I don't know what they're made of. Air and sugar.
I had a Chico roll the other day. That's a callback to a podcast that nobody probably listened to.
I remember.
Anyway, let's start with the beginning of the Goonies. Let's look at this prologue. which is in the form of a newspaper article. That's an interesting device.
Yeah, making it a little creative.
Yeah, so here we go. Astoria Evening Standard, Saturday, October 24.
In a daring daylight escape this morning, convicted armed robber Jake Fratelli broke out of state prison and fled to a waiting getaway car.
Fratelli, 33, apparently faked his own suicide while the other inmates were at breakfast, and when the guard entered his cell to cut the body down from where it was seemingly hanging by the neck, Fratelli knocked him unconscious, exchanged clothes with him, and simply walked out of the moderate security facility.
According to guard Emil Yanis, he looked quite dead as a jackrabbit roadkill to me. Hangman's noose and his tongue stuck out, but when I went to check him, I saw it was a harness around his waist, and that's when he nailed me. Giannis has been hospitalized for observation.
Moments after Fratelli left the compound, the guard's naked body was discovered, and the alarm sounded. Prison guards gave chase, but a black off-road vehicle was waiting for the escapee just opposite a hill adjacent to the penitentiary.
Driving the vehicle was the prisoner's mother, 56-year-old Mama Fratelli, herself a fugitive, and the prisoner's brother, Francis, 31, currently sought for questioning following a string of arsons last winter in Portland.
Now, I like this. I like that it's economic. I mean, it goes on from here, but that's our 3 villains. Now we know all about them. That's all we needed to know. We don't have to worry about that again. But also, of course, these scenes are scenes from the Fratelli's viewpoint, and this book, spoilers, is written by one of the Goonies. So he wasn't present in any of these Fratelli scenes, so we need a different way to get that narrative across, and the newspaper articles, they work quite well.
That's very creative of Khan. Also, why is her name always Mama? She doesn't get a name. That kind of irked me. Yeah, well, women are either mothers or prostitutes, right? In films? True, yeah. Or, that's exactly right.
Pretty much. It struck me as well, reading this time around, that when we did Batman Forever, there's actually a scene that you can see. It's a deleted scene, but the original opening for Batman Forever was pretty much this exact same thing, where someone finds, I think, Two-Face hanging in a cell, and then it's realised that he wasn't actually dead, and he uses that opportunity to escape. So it was a lot darker than what we got. And here it was right here. It was just lifted from Goonies.
I'm sure it's appeared in other things.
Well, bloody give Goonies some credit.
Okay, I'll give Goonies some credit.
So, who is the book written by? Here we go. So my name is Mikey Walsh. Michael, actually, except nobody ever calls me that but Grandpa when he can remember who I am at all. Mostly he just lies in the hammock in the backyard remembering when he was 13. That's what I am. 13. Short for my age, though. Not like a midget or anything, and I'm no chicken. But on the other hand, you're not going to find me in the parking lot after a football game with Glen Oaks West waiting to mix it up with those trolls. Brand calls me a wimp. He's my brother. I'm not, though. A wimp, I mean. I've just got better things to do than hoot about who creamed who at the game. Adventures are my game, even though they're usually pretty hard to come by in a junky little town like this. Mikey wrote this book!
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's very 80s. He's no chicken.
Yeah, well,
like
that
Marty
was a
McFly.
huge thing. Yeah. Shh, don't call Marty McFly a chicken, whatever you do. Mm-hmm. He'll come at you like a spider monkey. Arms flailing.
He'll cream you.
He will cream you totally, like Grease Lightning. Mm-hmm. Terrifying. Do you think it's fair that James Caan gets credit for this book when Mikey wrote the bulk of it?
Well, I think, what was the kid doing in the years between Goonies and Rudy? Nothing. He could have written it.
I didn't know he did anything between this and Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Rudy, yeah, about football and Notre Dame is a huge...
Okay, so he said, you won't find me hanging out at football matches, and then the very next thing he did was hang out at football matches.
Yeah, but he was... Yeah, that's a weird movie. Anyway.
Well, how can we trust anything this kid says then if he's going to lie to us right from the beginning? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to find out.
But I did think Khan was a really fun writer. Like, I love how, unlike a lot of novelizationists, he's not just trekking from A to B. Like, he actually treats this like it's a real book, like a standalone story. And he takes the effort to explore the character's world beyond the film. And I really liked some of these details about Mikey's past, which, he didn't have to come up with this stuff. He didn't have to think up extra things, but he did because he cares about us.
Right. The first blah of the day. Okay. So I love the fall. What I hate is my braces, especially when Dr. Hoffman tightens them once a month to correct my malocution, which is like an execution done about as slow as marshmallow taffy. Also, once when I kissed Cheryl Hagedorn, she actually kissed me. Our braces locked, so we were joined at the mouth. It was really a gross out, and I had to unhook us with her eyebrow tweezers in the rearview mirror of her dad's Chevy.
I think comedy writing, specific is the way to go, and that's so wonderfully specific. He chooses these little bits and pieces that really tell us a lot about these characters. You know a lot about Cheryl just from the braces, the eyebrow tweezers, the dad's Chevy. You paint this picture of this character, and I really love that he, could be bothered doing this.
Yeah, he totally is creative, because none of the, he just made it all up out of his head. So he's taking it seriously.
Yeah, and it feels true to the characters for me. It doesn't feel like he's missed the mark on what these characters are about. I think he actually really gets it. And that's interesting considering he's just working with a script, presumably. You're not getting all serious and analytical today. Listen to this.
I know. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll loosen up down the road.
Maybe.
Shake it off.
Shake it up. Shake it out. There we go. And did you know, I didn't know this, I didn't know the origin of the name Goonies. Is it in the movie? Do they dwell on that?
No, they don't explain it, but they do say Goon Docs at one point, but they never really explain what's going on. It's the typical 80s evil land developer character, That's all you really need to know.
It's like every movie that came out that was about, adapted from an old TV show, Addams Family and Brady Bunch. They were always going to lose the house. That's the thing you have to fight for.
They should have had a bikini car wash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chunk in a bikini would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And truffle, shuffle his way to dollars. If there were any tracks in town, we'd probably be on the wrong side, at least according to the people who belong to the Hillside Country Club. They're the ones who call this the Goon Docks, and us the Goons. That's okay with us, though, because we like who we are. That's why we call our gang the Goonies.
All right.
You satisfied with that explanation?
It's funny that, it's a movie, but it's we're the poor kids, and we all live in these giant houses and have cable television. It's all right. It looks nice to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, where does Data get all that money to build all his, crazy gadgets and stuff? Because if you don't know, the Goonies there's the older brother Brand, which is Josh Brolin, right? Mm-hmm. There's Mouth, who's got the gift of the gab. That's Corey Feldman, the Fell Dog. Mm-hmm. There's Chunk. Now, Chunk's the fat guy who's now, I don't know who the actor is, but he's really skinny now.
Jeff Cohen.
There we go.
He doesn't act anymore.
Data.
He's a lawyer or something.
Is played by Short Round.
Yes, and he doesn't act either. He's like a martial arts stunt guy or something.
That's a damn shame, because he was a really cool guy. He always is my favorite. And I really loved the description of Data here.
He loves 007 movies, and that's where he dreams up some of his gadgets. But I think sometimes he must have gone for popcorn and missed something important.
Yeah. So he kind of knows where it is. He's entertaining us in ways beyond the script. And, I'm probably overselling it. People's probably like, shut up, Luke. Okay, we get it. But it's so rare in this show that happens, that you got to give it credit when it does. Because we're not here to just tear down everything and to make authors feel bad. If they do something good, then we'll give them credit. It's we're not here to tear down America, despite what people say sometimes. It's when they do something good, we'll let you know about it. The Z guy, the guy that said A to Z, that's good. Everything else was awful, but that was a really great thing, and we recognized it. So
I kind of like saying Z. I don't know.
Z, A to Z. The problem is Z doesn't work in your alphabet song, does it?
Oh yeah, that's true. And X though. X is hard. What sound does X make? Anyway.
X.
Xavier.
I don't know.
X makes a Z sound.
It marks the spot, which we're about to find out very
Whoa,
soon.
good segue.
Hello, this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this before. So yeah, as we said, they're going to lose the house. So look, this is their last week together, and everybody's losing their houses, right? All the Goonies. They're going to have to go to some other goon place, and you imagine they're probably going to go like to LA somewhere and have to interact with real gangs, and we'll see. We'll see how long Chunk lasts, or how long Mouth lasts in that one. But I thought the famous Truffle Shuffle scene with Chunk, where he is humiliated by having to lift his shirt and dance and jiggle on a rock, is really quite downplayed here. I would have made at least a full page out of this and described all the different things and thrown in some metaphors, but instead we just get, he was shouting now, "Hey guys, you gotta let me in, I just saw the most amazing thing." Mouth called back, "First you gotta do the Truffle Shuffle." Chunk's face fell, but he sighed and lifted his shirt to show his pudge and then did the twist so it all jiggled around. This cracked Mouth up like it always did, but it just depressed me even more.
Oh, poor Chunk.
I feel sometimes like the writers don't really get, and there's another example of this a bit later on, the impact that certain sequences are going to have in a film. Almost like Alan Dean Foster when he wrote Alien. He didn't realise just the impact that Alien was going to have as a film, or the fact that it had a friggin' alien in it. So he wrote about the cat. And it's only later when he sees the film, he's like, oh, like it's not a metaphorical alien, it's a real alien, and I probably should have mentioned it in the book, but I didn't know.
So do you think the books would be better if they got to see the movie first? Or, I don't know, I kind of like that they have to write these books out of spec scripts and just kind of try to create something out of their brains and then see if it matched up with the film.
As Willy Wonka said, it's a world of pure imagination, am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of my favorite scenes.
Yes. So that idiot Chunk, he breaks a replica of Michelangelo's David that belongs to Mikey's mother. But Khan plays it a little bit coy here as to what particular piece was broken off.
So this was really bad news, and Mom was going to have a cow when she found out. It made me a little wheezy just to think about it, so I took a heat on the Promethean inhaler. Chunk put the statue back in place, and then I found the missing piece under the table and held it up to the statue. "This is my mom's favorite piece," I said.
Yes. Mom likes that particular piece a lot. A lot of fond memories with that particular piece.
My favorite line is when they glue it back on upside down, and then Josh Brolin says, "If God made us like that, we'd all be pissing in our faces."
Yeah, which again, Khan plays it coy. He says Brand made a dirty joke or something, one that I won't repeat now.
Yeah,
it's like, that's the best bit.
Line.
I know. Yeah. I hear you. Not that, I mean, David, he didn't have a lot there to break off, really, did he?
Well, yeah, maybe it was really cold in Italy back then.
He'd just been swimming or something. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Data is totally tits. So then he whips a pair of aviator shades out of his backpack, puts them on, plugs them into the box on his chest with a sort of adapter plug, and shouts, "Glasses of death!" out the window and pulls the yellow ring on the box. That is the perfect way to end any scene, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh, man. Data.
Then Mom comes in, and I really did love this, Mikey's description of Mom.
Just then my mom came in. She was pretty old, 40 or so, but still better looking than most moms. She used to model parkas for the Sears catalog.
This is talking about good comedy being really specific, and I just think the parkas, the Sears catalog, it's just perfect. It's like that, a Flight of the Conchords song about you could be a part-time model. I just think it's fantastic.
You remember when you were a kid and 40 was ancient?
Oh, I know, and I'm looking down the barrel of it now as well, and it's not remotely what I imagined.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
We've talked Data. This is Mouth's finest moment, I think, when he translates for the maid, and it shows you just how, twisted these films were back then. Like, when I rewatched Goonies, which is about a year ago, I was just watching this sequence and thinking, I can't believe they're doing this. I'm glad they're doing it. They went out the other door into the hallway, and Mom pointed to the trapdoor in the ceiling. "That's the attic. Mr. Walsh doesn't like anybody up there. Never." Then she nodded to Mouth again. This time he told me his rap went, because he's translating for the Spanish maid. He says, never go up there, it's filled with Mr. Walsh's sexual torture devices. And there was no doubt, this time Rosalita's face turned white under the brown, so she looked kind of beige.
Yeah, throw in a little bit of,
casual racism
casual
at the end there. Yeah. But, sexual torture devices. And the thing was, Corey Feldman was that kind of kid that you believed knew all about that stuff and would say those things. It was very well cast.
According to his book, he did know a lot about all those things.
Yeah, and still does, apparently.
Gross.
Or then again, maybe I spoke too soon, is this mouth's finest moment when they go into the attic to explore all the old junk up there.
Bran turned his light on. There in the corner was a full-size oil painting, torn in places, of a pirate captain and a naked woman, and there was a tongue jutting out of a tear in the woman's mouth, licking her lips. It was creepy at first, until I realized that it was a tongue that could only have come from Mouth's mouth. He was behind the painting. Come here, Mikey, he said in a kind of ghost voice. Make me feel welcome.
I love that so much.
I love that part.
That is Corey Feldman sticking his tongue through a painting and trying to seduce Joshua Brolin. I mean, that's your Oscar clip. That's fantastic. I love that.
Come and give me a kiss.
The only way that could be even crazier if it was like a tear in the crotch or something. And this is what they find, which starts their fabulous adventure. It's slid out of the frame real easy now, along with a small gold doubloon. No lie, a real gold coin. The map was all creased and cracked and hand-painted in perfect detail. All of the writing was in Spanish, with little arrows by some of it, and little pictures by some of it, and at the bottom it was signed by some guy named One Eye Willy. Bit of
Don't do it, Luke.
out of context comedy corner right there.
I know what you're
One-Eyed
thinking.
Willy. Famous pants pirate.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't want to walk his
Anyway.
plank, I tell ya.
I should encourage you.
So, the Goonies, they tie up older brother Brand and escape the house.
Suddenly we heard Bran screaming from inside the house. Mikey, I'm gonna hit you so hard when you wake up your clothes are gonna be out of style. I didn't need any more encouragement. We shot down the driveway and we were gone.
It is a genuinely great script, right? There are so many wonderful lines in this thing. You forget how funny it is.
Yeah, I love that line. It's so great.
And no burgers yet, which is a bit unusual in an American
There's no burgers at all.
production, I know. But there is a Twinkie.
Oh, Chunk was over by the junk food, and just like Mouth, he was looking pretty cagey. Suddenly, he tore open a Twinkie, slurped out the cream filling, then rewrapped the Twinkie and put it back on the shelf. It was really gross.
So, are Twinkies as big a thing as American cinema would have us believe?
When I was a kid, I can talk to myself. When I was a kid, every day for lunch, I had a Twinkie in my lunch. I just liked them a lot. But then, when I got to high school, too sweet. I don't think they're that popular anymore because Hostess went bankrupt and
I tried
there was a
one
whole crisis.
when I was in America because, Ghostbusters famously references it, of course, and it's something you hear about. And I was so surprised when I saw what it was. It was this sad little processed... it's barely food. It's just this rubbery, bland thing with a bit of cream in the middle. It's crazy to me that it would have any cultural currency at all. Bizarre.
It's just, I don't know. It was invented in the 50s, I think. There you go.
Hang on, is this out of context comedy corner? Chunk went to work on a ding-dong. In Australia.
Have you ever had a ding-dong?
That's something completely different. I've had a ding-dong for a while.
It's not ripped off?
No, still here.
It's a chocolate cream
Hibernating.
It's a chocolate cake with cream, and then they also have a similar one from another company called the King Dong.
Yeah, right.
King Dong is a bigger version of the Ding Dong.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. More characters to learn here. So anyway, Troy strutted into the Stop and Snack like he owned the place, which he probably did. He was wearing his coolo tennis outfit and his hair was styled and so were his fingernails, what he called manicured. Get the picture? But the thing is, He was walking in with Andy Carmichael and Steph Steinbrenner. Now, Andy is the girl Brand was hoping to take out Saturday night, and she was like so foxy, it was intense. She was wearing her cheerleader's outfit now, but she was also wearing Troy's letter sweater with his name sewn on the pocket. Dum-da-dum-dum. Steph was Andy's best friend. She wasn't nearly as pretty as Andy, but she was tough enough. She lived in the Goondocks like us. Andy was from Hillside, Steph wore glasses, Andy wore contacts. Again, economic, everything you need to know about these characters right there.
Sick Martha Plimpton burn there, Con.
No, don't you love what happened to Martha Plimpton? You gotta love Martha Plimpton, right? Everybody loves Martha Plimpton.
She's so cool, and she's not ugly.
No, not at all. And this was so weird. Does this happen in the film? Like, Troy rolls up the map, sets it alight, and tries to smoke it like a giant comedy cigarette, and then, like, the Goonies physically attack him until Brand comes and rejoins them, and then they escape again?
No, that whole convenience store scene is not in the movie, which I think was a good choice, because it just repeated again the same stuff as happens later, like... So, no, that scene is a new scene.
Well, there we go. That's an exclusive. That's a book was better exclusive. That's why you got to read books, because you're going to get giant comedy cigarette scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The map ends up leading them to an old lighthouse, and they hear gunshots, but these dumb kids still go inside.
There were stuffed fish on the walls, too, except they looked plastic. And crossed oars with rusty pins, and the whole place looked like it had been left behind somebody's refrigerator for about 10 years.
I really like that description. Again, it's been a while since we've been reading out great descriptions in books, so I really do welcome this one. And then when they go in, speaking of great descriptions, they meet Mama. She was sort of old, but looked like... Notice she's only sort of old, whereas the 40-year-old mum was really old.
But Anne Ramsey looks really old.
Yeah, she looks
actress
like
playing Mama.
A bit of chewed up beef jerky.
Yeah, poor lady.
She looked like she could eat the four of us alive and was thinking about it. She had an ugly black dress, black shoes, a black beret, and a black scowl. There was a tattoo on her left arm. Man, she looked mean. How long you boys been at that window, she growled. Long enough to see this place needs about 400 roach motels, said Mouth. That Mouth, he's incorrigible, right? No respect for the elderly. I thought that Mama had the perfect way, though, to deal with Corey Feldman.
So he laughed nervously with his tongue flapping, and the old lady grabbed his tongue, and pulled out a pocket knife out of her dress and put the blade to that tongue in mouth, and said, "We got one more thing on the menu. Tongue. You boys like tongue?" We shook our heads fast, and that was when I realized this lady was not only trying to scare us off, she was a little nutsy.
Yeah, I bet
she was a little Nutsy the koala?
Yeah, from Blinky Bill, that's right. She was the living incarnation of Nutsy the koala. She wasn't an old woman, she was a stack of koalas in a dress. Very sneaky.
That's what happens after you tear down their homes.
I bet she's not the first person to want to cut out Corey Feldman's tongue, and probably not the last, especially if you've heard any of his singing career. Not great. So, obviously, the crooks are hiding here in the lighthouse, and when Mikey sneaks downstairs, he sees Sloth for the first time, which is probably the last character we need to know. He lifted his head, and there in the whitish glow of the crummy TV, I saw what he looked like, and man, I was scared. He was bald except for a little top knot, and his head just wasn't the right shape. High up were two partly formed ears, more like dried apricots that had gone bad. His eyes weren't the same size or colour, and they were at two different levels on his face, one near where it was supposed to be and one down along the side of his nose. And his nose was all wrong too, kind of off-centre and squashed like he'd fallen on his face and it was made of clay. Only his mouth was real sad. Poor Sloth.
That's such a great description.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Accurate. Is. And a little bit of empathy. He's like a Frankenstein monster. He's misunderstood. He's like the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Sad piano music playing here. And so the crooks head out. Brand catches up with those crazy Goonies again. And the girls, Andy and Steph, join the adventuring party. So this is where our quest really begins. And Mikey reminds us here of the lineup.
I opened the basement door. It was black as a grave down there and 3 times as deep. I looked back at them. Mouth, Chunk, Data, Steph, Annie, Brand. 7 of us all together. Like the Magnificent 7. It made me feel like Steve McQueen. Invincible. Cool. Certain.
Nothing better than a strutting Sean Astin, am I right? That guy has some killer moves. So, they all descend into the underground caves, except for Chunk, who finds a dead body in the freezer and is captured by the returning Fratellis. The Fratelli family left to check on Junior. I could still hear her saying, "You better not have busted them chains again. I ain't going back to the zoo for another set." When the freezer door opened the rest of the way and Chunk slid out from behind the corpse, that was the first time I realized he wasn't with us. I really like that. It reminds me of that sort of insensitivity that Matt Dillon has in Something About Mary, where he's talking about Mongo, who's a real good shit, and we keep him chained to the clothesline and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I won't say the other line by Matt Dillon, but yes, that is... Oh, no. Good thing this book doesn't have a lot of swears.
Have you seen the Goonies commentary, the commentary with the actors that's on the DVD and Blu-ray?
No, I haven't.
I definitely recommend that for anyone listening who's a Goonies fan, because they bring back together all of the Goonies as adults and Richard Donner. And you can watch it picture in picture, so you can really see these guys. And it's really quite funny how the guys that weren't as famous and Corey Feldman know every little detail about this film, and the people that went on to have bigger successes just don't remember anything, particularly Richard Donner. And when this thing happens, when Chunk gets captured by the Fratellis and separated from the rest of the gang, he's like, Richard Donner's actually there going, "What? They've got Chunk? We're going to get him back though, right? Are they going to give him back? Why is Chunk with them?" And they're like, yeah, no, they have him for like a lot of the movie. And he's like, really? He just had no idea.
He forgot about the blender scene?
Forgot about Chunk. How can you forget about Chunk?
I don't know, man. It's because Jeff Cohen, like, that was his biggest movie, I think. You know, for a lot of these kids, adults now, it was their biggest thing they ever did. So, of course, they remember it.
I did like this line, "We stopped like an animal with too many legs." I think that's kind of fun. And then they find the skeleton of the last guy who tried to find the treasure. And really, this is where the film changes pace completely and becomes, basically a stream of episodic adventures with booby traps and pirate crap, which I think is the original title of the screenplay, Booby Traps and Pirate Crap. There's even a boulder trap, like a rolling boulder.
Yeah, short round boulders. Come on, Spielberg. There's a fridge later.
And get inside it, nuclear blast.
Yeah, that Brandon gets inside.
I got to admit, when I watched this again the last time, it's this second half I didn't enjoy half as much as the first half, and it's because the first half is all setting up those characters and giving them a lot of dialogue, but then once the adventure starts, it just sort of is on rails for a bit for me. I was talking before about how authors look at the script and they don't necessarily realise the impact or how iconic some of these scenes are going to be. And I felt that as well, that when they're at the bottom of the wishing well, I thought Khan sells Feldman's big moment short. No doubt, misinterpreting just how they were going to end up portraying that.
Yeah. She emptied her pockets, then I did. She was right. It's not cool to mess with somebody else's wishes. Everyone put the money back, except Mouth kept 1 quarter. Yeah, well, wish was mine, and it didn't come true.
Like, in the book, it sounds like he's just an opportunist, and he just wants to get himself an extra 25 cents and buy a Butterfinger or something. But in the film, it's his moment, isn't it? He's, really sort of... It's like, the Mouth facade crumbles, and you're like, here is this guy that's been downtrodden by life. He's hiding it all behind this thing. He's not happy, he's not satisfied, and he feels that the world owes him something, and it is embodied in this quarter. He didn't get what he wanted, and we don't know what it was.
Yeah, and that one, little line of dialogue, it really shows how great Corey Feldman was as a child actor. Like, that scene is just so emotional.
Yeah, it's his best 30 seconds on film ever.
Yeah.
Everything else was pretty average.
Make a sex tape joke.
Oh.
Never mind.
You are very inappropriate. You know that this is a family show and always has been, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I totally get that.
A lot of kids listening. A lot of kids like hearing an old Australian man talk about novelizations of movies they've never heard of, and they love that. And you saw the movie recently. Did Mikey's big speech in the film involve a massive jar of toothpicks on the quiz show? And
No, they never went on. That show is Let's Make a Deal. It's not said that, but the show Let's Make a Deal is the one where you dress up and pick doors and stuff. But no, that wasn't in the... A lot of this, there's a lot of padding in this book.
yeah, and it's not even a long book, but it's a couple of pages where Mikey describes going on this game show, and his dad usually picks door number 2 picks the number 2 because the number 2 has significance to the family. But then for some reason he picks number 3, and he wins 100,000 toothpicks in a jar, and that they were destined then to be losers forever. And so now Mikey, whenever he's got a decision down in the tunnels, he picks number 2, and it's like, I don't know, like, it's important apparently. But Khan does that. I mean, at least it's not as bizarre as the elephant reincarnation story that we had in Temple of Doom. So, baby steps.
I don't think you can beat that.
Yeah. And here is the Goonies oath. Do you know the oath? Do you want to say it?
No, I don't.
I don't know.
Sure.
Well, let's alternate lines. Let's say it together, and then we can both be Goonies.
All right, put your hand up.
Okay, my hand's
up. I will
up.
never betray my Goondock friends.
We will stick together until the whole world ends.
Through heaven and hell and nuclear war.
Good pals like us will stick like tar. Doesn't rhyme.
In the city or the country or the forest or the boonies.
I am proudly declared a fellow Goonies. Yeah. I don't know who wrote that one. Sounds like Chunk might have written that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. We're Goonies now, Luke. Yay!
Yeah, we are Goonies. Yeah. We are poor kids, losers.
In rural Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the Goondocks. So look, there's bats, there's leeches, there's claustrophobia. Everybody is freaking out. He flips at mouth, just like his brother, just like the rest of us pretty soon. We're all gonna go batty, one by one. Pretty soon we'll be eating each other's fingers to stay alive. Finger licking good, tastes like it should. We're all going nuts, knock on wood. He rapped his head with his knuckles. I don't remember that in the film either, but man, I would love to have seen it.
No, Khan gives Mouth this whole, rhyming thing.
He
always
invented
talks in rhymes.
Yeah.
He gives Brandon claustrophobia. It's weird.
He is the world's first rapper from a little town in the Goondocks. Mouth.
He's Vanilla Ice.
On the mic. Exactly. So, God, when all the lights go out, Mikey gets a little more than he bargained for.
I rounded the next corner, my hands on the wall in total blackness, more and more afraid, when my palm came to rest on something soft and warm. I'd never touched her before, but I knew immediately who it was. It was Andy, for sure.
And they did say this place was full of booby traps, am I right? Oh, hello. I'm reaching for that low-hanging fruit, as was Mikey, to be fair. So
not yet. She's only 16. It's not that low-hanging.
It was Mama. It was really dark. So they kiss in the dark, Mikey and Mama, and just for a few seconds there, I forgot about One Eye Willy. Are you sure? I reckon One Eye Willy was all he was thinking about while he was kissing Andy in the dark. Mm-hmm. I thought this was, and this isn't dirty, I just thought that this was really fun out of context. Like, if you didn't know anything about what story we were reading and you just read these two sentences, you'd be like, what?
And now every friend I had in the world was inside that skull. I ran through the nose hole to join them.
This is a crazy person's diary. And then, finally, Chunk gets to tell his story, because in the film, there's a whole heap of stuff that happens to Chunk, and of course Mikey's not there for it, so Chunk has to retroactively tell everything that happened. And what I love about this is that rather than cut back and forth between scenes, they just put all the Chunk stuff together in one big chunk.
Chunk.
As it were. So, these are the words of Chunk. Right about now, I'm wishing I knew a prayer, but I don't, so I just sort of smile as good as I can and hope maybe they'll kidnap me and adopt me as their outlaw son, and I can turn myself in during our first hold-up. But they don't want to adopt me, they just want to torture me. So they tie me into this hard chair with an old extension cord, and Jake holds a gun to my head. This was pretty scary, some of this Chunk stuff. But
I love Chunk.
I do too. This is great. Let's hear some more Chunk.
So I go on like that for a while, and they're looking at me like I'm nuts, and I'm really starting to feel bad. So then I really start thinking of things I did that I'm ashamed of. Stuff I never told anyone before. So I tell them about the time I mixed up this fake puke out of pea soup and soy sauce and corn niblets and hid it in my jacket and went to the movies and sat in the front row balcony and made this huge ralphing sound and dumped it over the side on a bunch of people in the audience. And it made them start getting sick and throwing up all over each other. Geez, it was just horrible. I never felt so bad in my life. So I'm telling this to the Fratellis, and it makes me feel so bad I start bawling like a baby. Can you believe it? And do you mean can you?
Again, a great story that Khan went to the trouble to make up. I think that's fantastic. I love it.
That's in the movie.
All right.
That's in the movie.
I've just given Khan too much credit. I take it back, Khan. This wasn't you. Don't take
The
credit
kid was
for
so
Chunk's
great.
work.
He's like, I started going, bleh.
Well, I
And
love
then everyone
that
started going, bleh.
you've got all these great run-on sentences too with Chunk. Like, it's a completely different style as he tells this story. I like this as well. Then she cackles like something from Dungeons and Dragons, and no lie, she points the gun at my head. All at once, everything I've ever eaten flashes before my eyes.
I love. And Chuck goes, I pushed my sister down the stairs and blamed it on the dog. And then Robert Davi says, I'm starting to like this kid, Ma. I love this.
Yeah, and this, because it is all together, it's got real momentum. Like he's put in the hands of Sloth straight away. Meanwhile, I'm watching Sloth devour a whole frozen turkey. He cracks off one of the legs, but it's like solid ice, so it slips out of his hand, flies across the room, and bounces into the fireplace. So he chases after it. I have a feeling like the drumstick is his favourite part, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's a reference here to another film that we've done on the show. This is in the film, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Anyway, the sheriff is starting to sound like a broken record, so I try to be nice and sincere and stuff. Honest, Sheriff, you gotta believe me. I do, he says. Just like that prank about all those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them. Truth.
So, holy shit, Gremlins and Goonies exist in the same universe.
Well.
Which means...
Or Chunk saw Goonie, or Chunk saw Gremlins.
Well, I hope so, because otherwise there are two Corey Feldmans in this universe. The Corey Feldman that is mouth and the Corey Feldman that poured water on the Mogwais.
I don't think we could handle that.
Two Coreys, that's unheard of, right?
Oh.
Oh, that's sad. The less talented one is no longer with us. Or was he the more talented one? I don't remember.
And the girl who played Andy, who was in that movie Lucas with the other Corey.
What about
It's all
her?
coming together. Oh, I don't know.
Is she alive?
I think so.
Okay. I thought you were saying she was dead too. And then I was getting
No, I'm
really
just saying
sad.
she was in movies with both Coreys.
Is Martha Plimpton alright? Please tell me Martha's alright.
She's fine. She's fine. She got some Emmys a few years back.
Oh, well, good for her.
Yeah.
So, Sloth and Chunk and the Fratellis go into the tunnels, and they have a grand old time by the sounds of it. Anyway, he gets up and starts stomping his feet as he plays, and I start clapping along. It's a real familiar tune, but I can't place it. Then I realise he's playing the Gilbert Chevrolet commercial they do on Channel 13 late at night. Then he starts doing a whole medley of TV commercials, like You Deserve a Break Today at McDonald's and Ajax the Foaming Cleanser, stuff like that. I guess those are the only songs he knows. You know, I remember, I got a flashback while reading this. I had a Goonies colouring in book when I was a kid. And I remember there was a picture of Chunk and Sloth having a bit of a dance, having a bit of a hoedown.
I thought, yeah, that's not in the movie, but maybe it was in the script.
One
part, I'm surprised you didn't put this part in. It said that Sloth pulled out a Jew's harp
Yeah.
and started playing it. I thought, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
I think a harmonica? And then, that was weird. I was like, that's an odd thing to say.
Well, we've already established that James Caan is incredibly racist.
Maybe not like Lovecraft levels, but...
And I meant allegedly, of course.
Of course.
And then back to Mikey, and a massive story that Mouth tells about a monkey paw, which is it's like a short story of its own within this book. This whole diversion about this guy that gets a monkey paw and these horrible things happen to him. And
It
then
is a short story.
they start getting all philosophical about God.
Well, it is brave of you to tell us, said Andy. Me, I'm scared of just about everything. Scared of my father, scared of the nuns, scared of getting bad grades, scared of being lonely, scared of getting hurt. I'm really scared of dying. I mean, not just because of all the things I'd miss out here, and how sad it would be and unfair. The thing is, what's out there? I mean, is there heaven? God? What does he look like? Will he be angry with me? Probably so. Probably send me to hell if there is one, because of all the bad things I thought I've done. And then I get scared of what hell's like. Is it painful eternally? Is it flaming? Do you have to swim in molten lava? Or is it icy cold? Do you have to sit on icebergs shivering forever? And your skin sticks to the ice and pulls off in little bits when you try to stand up?
That's really intense for these kids to be worrying about in this pirate adventure, I thought.
Yeah. And come on, Andy. God has no gender. Please. Please use gender-neutral language.
I still think God looks like Monica Bellucci or Nigella Lawson. This is my theory.
Whatever you think God looks like is what God looks like.
and her throne is made of cake. Then we have the sequence with the creepy skeleton organ. Not that kind of organ. It was a smallish chamber, maybe 30 feet across, with a huge stone slab blocking the only way out, and this incredibly weird pipe organ filling the center of the room. An organ made of bones. The middle of it was a human skeleton, its arms outstretched, its hair flowing thinly to its shoulders. Radiating out from its hips in a wide semicircle were about 50 finger bones. Those were the keys. And sticking up every which way behind it and around it were the organ pipes, made of either hollow thigh bones or bamboo sticks. But that wasn't the creepiest part. The creepiest part was that it was playing itself. I like that. That's a creepy scene.
Very descriptive.
Yeah. The movies from that era, like when I was a kid, I was a bit creeped out by some of the stuff in the Goonies, and I was certainly scared by films like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Gremlins was a bit scary. I loved all that.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. Well, Box Trolls was pretty scary.
You reckon?
Yeah, I cried. But since it's a kid movie, you know that it's going to turn out okay. But that's British. American kids movies now are all like so happy all the time. It's weird. It's not realistic.
No, it's not. Life is not happy all the time, damn it. Look at Bambi and Dumbo. Were they happy? No.
Well, yeah. Well, then we finally get to the ship.
The pirate ship.
Yes. There was a lot of coughing and spitting and shaking water from our ears until when I stood and opened my eyes and looked around, I almost sat down again, just at the wonder of it. We were in an enormous, just huge cavern. The far ceiling and walls were lined with sparkling rocks that glittered off shafts of low sunlight that pierced through holes up high. The whole place was filled with a steel pool of dark blue water. Just beyond the walls, the ocean's waves could be clearly heard lapping and crashing all around. But the most amazing sight stood at the far end of the cavern. A ship! A real, true, well-preserved 17th century pirate ship, tilted half on its side, buried half in the far wall, where there had been a cave-in probably hundreds of years ago. The sails were tattered, one mast was gone, the others were broken or leaning, the skull and crossbones hung at half-mast, the ship rested broadside, its gun ports open, its rusting cannons pointing right at us. It was like something out of Treasure Island marooned there, and we all just stared.
What I love about this shot, and it's something that I learnt in the commentary as well, I believe, is that the kids had not seen the pirate ship until that moment. So the reaction that you see them have is their very real reaction to the pirate ship, which I think is really cool. So that's a lot of fun when you watch it, because you see that real wonder and sort of delight cross their faces when they see this thing for the first time in real life.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then the infamous deleted octopus scene is in the book, which is very exciting. Like as to whether it existed.
Kids. Oh yeah, my friends and I saw it. No, you didn't. You're a liar. You know. Now you can just look it up on YouTube.
I know, there used to be so many myths about things and theories about movies and behind the scenes stuff, and like you said, there was absolutely no way of knowing. But a lot of the times we did know about scenes like that because they were in novelizations or comic adaptations. A few seconds later, Steph got really red in the face and turned on Mouth and said, "I warned you," and lifted a hand to slap him. And in the second it took a hand to come around, this giant octopus shot up out of the water between them. And no lie, she slapped the octopus. It had this giant bloodshot eye. It was so gross, kind of pinkish grey, and one of its tentacles was wrapped around Steph's thigh, kind of tickling her, which is why she assumed it was Mouth. The octopus wasn't crazy about being slapped either. It slapped her right back, knocking her 3 feet away into the water. I mean, the thing was huge. And then, like it was letting us know what was what, it slapped the water with another tentacle. Sounded like a cracking whip. It's not as impressive in the actual scene they shot, is it?
No, it's really quite terrible. So I can see why they cut it out. It looks so bad.
And if you haven't seen this scene, you will never guess how they deal with the octopus. Here it is.
Yeah. He'd pulled his cassette deck, if you know what that is, kids. A cassette deck from his backpack, turned it on and cranked it up. It was Talking Heads doing Burning Down the House. Full volume, twin speakers, rocking on. He threw the cassette player into the octopus's mouth. The octopus reeled back, man, it was blown away. I don't think it ever had been up-close experience with new wave like this. The chorus reverberated through its body, heavy on the bass. It trembled, it quivered, it shaked, rattled and rolled. And it let go of us and shot away in a craze, moving to the beat for sure, until it disappeared into the far corners.
Wow, an octopus defeated by Talking Heads. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either.
Music
Why would it... Yeah.
tames the savage beast.
Yeah.
And look, they find the treasure. Happy ending, this is great. And to his left, seated at the head of the table, presiding over this bloody, bloodless feast for 3 centuries, grinning with a silver goblet in his right hand and a black leather patch over his eye, was One Eye Willy, waiting just for me. Behave.
Yeah, it was Tina Left Eye Lopez.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be a great twist. I did think this was cool, though, like the nature of his missing eye.
With great respect and even greater curiosity, I lifted his eye patch. Like maybe if I looked into that eye, I could see something special about him, about us. But there was no eye socket. It was solid skull, solid bone. Like the bone of the forehead came all down smooth, and then when it got to the place where the eye was supposed to be, it was just more flat, hard bone. No socket there for an eye even to be. So even in life, he'd never had an eye there. He wore a patch over empty skin to make people think he'd once had an eye that had been lost. But he'd never even been born with an eye there. He'd turned a handicap into a down card, into a thing of romance.
I really like that because I think it's such a cool idea. Like, it's such a good image that he didn't have an eye in the first place. But I love how Khan takes that and elevates it and just goes that little step further by, because Mikey's all worried about his own asthma and his disability and everything. And it's just really cool that, I don't know, like he just turns it around like that. I thought that was a cool moment and like a really positive moment for kids.
Yeah, it was good.
Great. And then the Fratellis attack the ship! Now, I, for one, was willing to be taken alive, but Data meant business. He shouted, "Intimidator!" and pulled one of his cords. His arms and legs began to expand like he was growing muscles, and then lifts in his shoe elevated, and for a second he did look kind of intimidating. Sort of like when the guy turned into a werewolf in The Howling, or like the Incredible Hulk. But then his muscles kept growing, just like the life raft, until they all exploded and brought him back down to size. It was a good try. You got to respect that.
Is The Howling a Spielberg movie too?
It's a Joe Dante, I think, which is who directed Gremlins. So everything's connected.
Oh, The Howling is good too.
Yeah, it is. I watched that recently too. Watched it with Courtney, going through a werewolf phase, and then Sloth, our hero Sloth, saves the day.
Not scared of whacked out. More like a Tarzan scream, or a Crimson Pirate scream, more like a battle cry. We looked up to see Sloth swinging down from the mast. I mean, we didn't know his name was Sloth then. That's what Chunk told me later. He wore a pirate hat and had a sword strapped to his waist, and he swung down on his heavy-duty rope and scooped up Mouth and Steph before they hit the water. Then he gave another bellow and kept swinging back up the deck, where he put them down like a box of candy. Then he faced Mama and his brothers and growled that first animal growl I'd heard the day before in the lighthouse. Then he flexed all his muscles and his shirt ripped and his chest bulged, and I swear I've never seen a better body in my life. It was totally awesome. Hunk City, said Steph. She'd been around.
Yeah, Steph is such a whore.
There's so much going on in that one paragraph. Like, what?
Well, I mean, I think it's great that we know the origin of Sloth now. We know that he hails from Hunk City. He's one of a race of hunks that, you know, has been adopted by the Fratellis.
Definitely a butterface.
Trying to work his way into normal society. But I think that's wonderful. And Steph's game, she's not put off by the lopsided eyes or the top knot. She's interested. So I think happier times ahead for Sloth. You know, there's a lot of talk about Goonies 2. Will that ever happen? Will it be about their kids or whatever? Just make it about Sloth and like what he's doing now. Sloth and Steph. Martha Plimpton.
Well, the guy who played Sloth is dead.
Yeah, well, the makeup. Somebody else.
He died at like 39 or something. He was a football player. He was into drugs. Had a heart attack.
They can get a new Sloth. There's a lot of big guys. What about The Rock? What's The Rock doing? He could be Sloth.
He could be Sloth, but they probably make him computer animated now. Kids today.
I reckon a bit of makeup on The Rock. He'd be a great Sloth. Bring back Martha Plimpton. I'm there.
That would be good.
Opening night. I'm going to queue up. So the bad guys have been defeated and the kids return to the shore and their worried parents. Sloth gave a happy grunt and picked Chunk up in the air for a big Sloth hug. Chunk held out his box of dinner to share. Look, Sloth, have some! There was this great look of instant recognition on Sloth's face, and he immediately started singing, "Hot dogs, armor hot dogs." Then he devoured one in a single gulp. No hamburgers.
No, in my book it was Domino's Pizza.
Really?
Yeah, in my version it was Domino's Pizza.
That
not hot dogs.
Is so weird. Where's my physical copy of the book?
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
Because I have the iTunes digital copy. It had photos though, so that was good.
I've got the physical copy here because I've got the physical copy, but I use the ebook. I can't find it.
This is titillating radio.
Here we go. No, in the physical book, it is hot dogs, armor hot dogs.
Huh, weird.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
So they
I swear, I just read it an hour ago.
For the ebook. Maybe
it's strange, yeah.
Maybe they thought that it was a bit weird that Sloth devoured a hot dog in a single gulp.
That's a little suggestive. Well, in the movie, it is pizza. It is Domino's Pizza in the movie.
He's incredibly talented, this Sloth. A man of many hidden talents. I don't know. That's why they kept him chained up.
And then Sloth's like, "Oh, you're gonna come live with us."
Yeah.
I'm sure his parents love the idea of this huge behemoth guy who loves their son.
I'm amazed it wasn't a sitcom.
Oh, that would have been awesome!
I think
the
that's
Sloth and Chunk Hour.
Yeah, what Harry and the Hendersons was based on.
Oh, I love Harry.
And of course, they now have the cash to keep the Goondocks, and the ship sails away into the sunset. And here's a little epilogue from Mikey.
One last thing I wanted to say. I got to read the police report on the Fratellis, and this is what happened, according to Mama. After we jumped ship, she woke up Jake and Francis and took him to the captain's cabin to gloat over their find. And the first thing Mama grabbed for was the gold on the scales in front of Willy. Willy's gold. Well, it turned out that tipped the scales, and the side of the balancers dropped that was attached to a string that pulled a clasp that set off the whole booby trap that hoisted Willy up to the wheel and knocked away the support beams in the cavern that started the cave-in. That was their downfall. So what I wanted to say was, if you try to take stuff that belongs to someone else, you don't get what you thought you were getting. You get what you ought to have got. But if you take what someone else is trying to give you while you were asking for what you thought you wanted, you end up getting a lot more than you knew there was in the first place. Willy taught me that.
Oh, that was very eloquent, Mikey. If you get what you got with the one, and then you had the thing, and then the stuff, and it got taken away from you, but then you got what you got, and he got what he's got, and the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. Yeah, you said it.
It does sound like a song, doesn't it?
Yeah. And actually, I mean, that's not the very end of the book. There's a whole heap of paper clippings there, which I'm not going to read, except for this one. I thought this was a bit fun. Astoria Evening Standard, Monday, October 26. 7 Astoria children, missing since Saturday, were found, wet but unharmed, last night on a deserted beach near Hillside. Accounts of the disappearance by the children were so strange that some authorities suspected drug use among them, a charge they vehemently denied. They had with them a large number of purportedly high-quality precious stones, but could offer no explanation of how the gems came to be in their possession, other than a fantastic story involving octopuses, pirates, and skeletons. Kids went on a bender. It was all imagined.
Yeah.
Not so bad. So, that's the Goonies. I gotta ask you, as I always do, was the book better?
No, I like the book, but I can't say it was better, because the movie is just almost practically perfect in every way, right? Like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I agree. And then that's the problem. That's the hard thing. If you're an author of one of these books, it's very hard. Author of one of these books that's based on a classic, beloved movie, because no matter how good your book is, you can't win. You cannot win this, Khan!
Yeah, okay. Any Amazon reviews today for our Amazon reviewer voice, which is my favorite thing?
You betcha. Here we go. I remember getting this book from the Troll Book Club when I was in 5th grade, and the movie had first been released. For anyone who loved the movie, this book is a must-read. James Caan is downright hilarious, and some of these reviews are incorrect. There are scenes in the movie that were cut after the initial release that this book includes, like the giant squid who grabs Steph, into whose mouth Data tosses a tape recorder, playing Burning Down the House. This is a kid's book that doesn't contain excessively foul language, but the kids 10 plus will think is entertaining and cool. So yeah.
This reviewer actually has some good grammar there. Into whose mouth Data tosses a tape recorder.
What's the Troll Book Club?
I'm trying to remember. Well, when you're a kid, they try to incentivize you to read. One thing was called Book It, which was partnered with Pizza Hut. So you would read a book, and your teacher would like sign off that you read, and you would get points, and then you can get free Pizza Hut pizza.
That is the most American thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I know people who love to read, so they got a lot of pizza, and then other people who really love pizza, so they read a lot. You know.
Yeah.
But the Troll Book Club, I'm thinking it's a catalog that you can buy the books from through the school, and they order the books, and it's cheap, like Columbia House Record Club, you know, those old things.
I was hoping that maybe kids were threatened that if they didn't read, they would be consumed by a troll.
Well, that's one possibility, but no, I believe I used to get them through school, like these catalogs of books, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Classic. And this is one more. Book was written after the film was made. I knew it was risky, but thought I'd give it a shot. Not worth it.
It was written, I don't believe it was written after the film was made.
Well, no, I think that's usually an impossibility because the books usually arrive on the shelves before the film comes out. But I just like the idea that anyone would think that reading a book was risky. Taking a big risk here.
Taking a big risk. I might learn something.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's not like, swimming naked in the dark or anything like that, is it? It's just reading a book. Like, what's going to happen?
I don't know.
Nothing. So, screw you guys, Amazon reviewers. Well, there we go. I mean, that was the Goonies. And we became Goonies. We understood more about the Goonies and their origins and what makes the Goonies tick. Thank you for sharing this wonderful experience with me.
Thank you.
America.
My pleasure.
And Australia together again. So, some quick plugs. Listen to the other shows. Listen to FPcast this week, where we reviewed the ridiculous Jupiter Ascending. And also, listen to Scarjo A Go-Go, where I review the awful Other Berlin Girl.
Oh, yeah. Everybody listen to Scarjo Go-Go. It's really good.
There we go. Please do that. And you can find out about all these shows on fruitlesspursuits.com. There's links to the Facebook group, all sorts of fun stuff, so do that. And I am going to tell you what I'm reading next week for The Book Was Better. See if you can guess what this is. You don't know, do you, Lauren?
Nope.
And you can't actually see the book, so you seriously, if you get it, call it out.
I can see your leg.
That's my knee. I always have
my leg.
I always have my feet on my desk. It makes me feel like an executive. By the time Danielle is 8 years old, her mother and father have died, and she has been left in the care of her stepmother, the Baroness Rodmiller of Ghent. 12 years later, the Baroness and her 2 daughters have made Danielle their servant, giving her the name Cindersoot, and ordering her every day to chop firewood, tend the grounds, and clean the manor house. When Prince Henry of France begins a search for a wife, the Baroness intends to make sure her beautiful daughter Marguerite becomes his bride. But when Danielle and the Prince meet by chance one day, sparks fly. The Baroness will do everything within her power to keep her servant from becoming the Queen of France. That sounds fucking awful. I've never
Ever
read that.
After.
Ever After, that's right. Drew Barrymore, Angelica Houston in Ever After. I do like Drew
I
Barrymore,
loved
though.
that movie.
Really?
When I was... What year did it come out? I think I was a teenager, you know.
It was... 1998.
Yeah, senior in high school.
There we go. So yeah, and Jacinta will be doing that one.
Oh, lovely.
Because when you think of romantic Cinderella stories, you think of Jacinta doing her Wertho voice, right?
I love the Wertho voice.
No, Wertho, he's a bloody legend. Absolutely. All right, well, look, thank you so much, Lauren. Really fun. And hopefully we'll have you again sometime soon.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for everybody for listening. And do you want to say the thing?
Yes.
Okay, well, go on then.
I'll catch you on the flips.
Jumanji.